Coming live from the studio, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for watching another episode of All Sports. This is your host Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I am going to talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, and NHL hockey. Before I start the show, I hope you all had a great week. To start off with Major League Baseball, now that Major League Baseball announced the 2021 Major League Baseball All-Star Game will be at Coors Field here in Denver, Colorado, they have revealed the logo and the merchandise is out. So regardless of what team you root for, but if you're a baseball fan, make sure to buy the merchandise for the 2021 Major League Baseball All-Star Game. I have already bought some of the merchandise, and I will continue buying merchandise up until the All-Star Game. And in one of the next episodes, I will be wearing the shirt, and I will show some All-Star merchandise in case you haven't seen what the logo looks like. I really like the logo, and of course, I'm looking forward to the All-Star Game and the festivities coming this July for the Midsummer Classic, which takes place here at Coors Field, and I can't wait. And regardless of what team you root for, the baseball All-Star Game is one of the best All-Star games in all of sports, and I'm definitely looking forward to it since I wasn't even alive the first time it came to Coors Field. Now that it's coming again for the second time, I'm definitely not going to miss it. Some other news from the Rockies. General Manager Jeff Bridich and the Rockies have mutually agreed to part ways. Finally, I wanted to say what took so long, but it finally happened. It should have happened a long time ago. The Rockies also announced that an interim general manager will take place and step in for the rest of the season, and this off season, once the season comes to an end, they will look for a new general manager, and hopefully it's someone outside of the organization, because the Rockies are just known for bringing the next person up within the organization, just giving someone in the organization a promotion. They need to look outside of this organization, not promote the next person up. So hopefully they bring in the right general manager, and hopefully one that can make better decisions. We'll have to wait and see how the interim general manager will be, but regardless, whoever is going to be the general manager after this season is really going to have to fill in some big shoes. There's definitely some big decisions to make, and there will be some key players, especially on the Rockies, that could be potential free agents, and hopefully one of them don't make the market. But we're going to have to wait and see. But it's all going to come down to who becomes general manager of the Rockies sometime in the next few months. But hopefully it's the right one. I'm glad that they're finally moving on from Jeff Bridich. He needed to go a long time ago, especially when the Nolan Arenado situation started taking place. It should have happened then, or even before that. If you happen to not know about Jeff Bridich, if you know about the Troy Tulowitzki trade and the Nolan Arenado trade, that should tell you just as bad of a general manager Jeff Bridich was. And that's just a highlight of what he did while he was general manager. He made many other moves that were pretty bad as well, especially with free agents, with the type of free agents he signed and the type of contracts he gave them. But regardless of that, that's a whole nother conversation. The worst things that he did was trades, especially when it was Troy Tulowitzki and even Nolan Arenado. But at the top of his list for the worst things he could have done was definitely that Nolan Arenado trade. It was a great trade for the Cardinals because they didn't have to give up anything. And for the Rockies to get what they got in return was garbage. So I'm glad that Jeff Bridich is finally gone. It should have happened a long time ago. Every bad move that this guy made while he was general manager, it's a long list. And he would definitely take time to go through the list and analyze every trade, free agent he signed, and every bad move he made in between. It's a long list. I definitely don't want to waste the time doing that, but I'm just glad that he has left the Rockies and the Rockies are moving on, and hopefully it's in the right direction. They definitely need an experienced general manager and someone that's going to come in here and turn this team around, because this team is capable of much more than what they're showing, especially in the last few years. And when Jeff Bridich was general manager, and someone that can come in here, clean house, and make the right moves, I would expect the Rockies to be a lot better, and hopefully they are down the road. And it's all going to depend on who is the new general manager, but they had to move on from Jeff Bridich. It took a long time, but I guess they finally decided they needed to finally do it, and that was probably the best thing that happened in April. And besides the way the Rockies played in April, that was one of the best things to happen in April from the Rockies, even though it wasn't on the field. But I'm glad it finally happened. Jeff Bridich made a lot of bad moves, a lot of bad decisions while general manager of the Rockies. So hopefully the Rockies can go a different direction and be a better team going into the future, because they definitely have the potential, as long as they have the right people running the team. Shohei Ohtani is the first pitcher since Babe Ruth to start a game while leading Major League Baseball in home runs. In the Major League Baseball power rankings, the current top 10 Major League Baseball teams are the Dodgers, Athletics, Padres, Red Sox, Brewers, White Sox, Royals, Mets, Rays, and Braves. Moving on now to NFL football, the Panthers traded Teddy Bridgewater to the Broncos in exchange for a 6th-round draft pick. So obviously we're going to have to wait and see what the Broncos do during the draft. They've made a lot of great moves during free agency. I can't wait to see what they do during the draft. They definitely have the potential of improving the team in the draft, just like they did during free agency. Just before the draft, they have traded for Teddy Bridgewater. If they happen to not draft a quarterback with their 1st-round pick, which nobody really knows what the Broncos are going to do, they can move up, they can move down, they can stay put, they can draft a quarterback, they can pass on a quarterback, they can draft a different position player. Nobody really knows what the Broncos are going to do with that 9th pick. But whatever they do, hopefully they pick the best available player, and that is their plan, no matter what player it is or what position that player plays. And we'll have to wait and see who the Broncos pick with the 9th pick, and we're going to have to wait and see who they pick with the rest of their draft picks. But the Broncos' goal is to definitely improve the team during the draft and address their needs. Now for the quarterback situation, right now Drew Lock's on the roster. Anything can happen, anything can change. In between now and the beginning of the season, maybe Drew Lock may or may not be on the roster. We're going to have to wait and see. But George Paton did say he wanted to bring in a quarterback, whether it was a veteran or a rookie, to be competition behind Drew Lock. And since he brought in Teddy Bridgewater, could they still possibly draft a quarterback? We're going to have to wait and see. Don't count out the Broncos out of the quarterback market, even though they did pick up Teddy Bridgewater. But if they do stick to Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, and they don't draft a quarterback, or they don't do anything out of the ordinary with the quarterback position between now and the beginning of the season, the starting quarterback job will be between Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. George Paton said they will battle out to see who will be the starter. If it happens to be Drew Lock, and Drew Lock starts to play bad like he did last season, now we have a good backup. We brought in a backup, and Teddy Bridgewater will come in and replace Drew Lock. So we'll have to wait and see how the quarterback position plays out for the Broncos. But right now, we're going to take a look at what could possibly happen in the 2021 NFL Draft with the Broncos and with the rest of the teams in the NFL. The 2021 NFL Draft is in Cleveland from April 29th to May 1st. So right now I'm going to give you a preview of the 2021 NFL Draft. So if we take a look at the first round of the NFL Draft, here are the current teams that have a draft pick in the first round, and I'm also going to list what pick they have in the first round. The Jaguars have the first overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. The Jets have the second pick. The 49ers have the third pick from the Texans after they traded with the Dolphins to get the third pick. The Falcons have the fourth pick. The Bengals have the fifth pick. The Dolphins have the sixth pick after they traded with the Eagles for the sixth pick. The Lions had the seventh pick. The Panthers had the eighth pick. The Broncos had the ninth pick. The Cowboys had the 10th pick. The Giants had the 11th pick. The Eagles had the 12th pick after they traded with the Dolphins for the 12th pick. The Chargers had the 13th pick. The Vikings had the 14th pick. The Patriots had the 15th pick. The Cardinals had the 16th pick. The Raiders had the 17th pick. The Dolphins had the 18th pick. Washington has the 19th pick. The Bears had the 20th pick. The Colts had the 21st pick. The Titans had the 22nd pick. The Jets had the 23rd pick after they traded with the Seahawks to get the 23rd pick. The Steelers had the 24th pick. The Jaguars have the 25th pick after they traded with the Rams to get the 25th pick. The Browns had the 26th pick. The Ravens had the 27th pick. The Saints had the number 28th pick. The Packers had the number 29th pick. The Bills had the number 30th pick. The Ravens have the 31st pick after they traded with the Chiefs to get the 31st pick. And the Buccaneers have the 32nd pick. So those are all the teams that have a draft pick in the first round. What to watch for in the 2021 NFL Draft. The Jaguars have the first pick in the draft. Trevor Lawrence could possibly be the first overall pick. There could be trades that could happen in the first round even before the NFL Draft has begun. Trades have already happened. Trades can continue happening up until the start of the NFL Draft. But I would expect a few trades to happen in the first round of the NFL Draft. There's no doubt that trades will happen in all 7 rounds of the NFL Draft. It always happens. But the round you want to keep an eye on is in the first round. And if there's trades that happen, it's likely to move up. And if teams move up into the top 10 or even into the top 15, it's likely to draft a quarterback that is still on the board, or like a wide receiver or some type of important position player they cannot pass on because that is an important position on their team. So I would expect a few trades to happen in the first round, and there's definitely going to be trades that happen throughout the entire NFL Draft. The top 5 quarterbacks could possibly be drafted in the first round and even in the top 10. Kyle Pitts could become the highest drafted tight end in draft history. We're going to have to wait and see if that happens. And we're going to have to wait and see if Trevor Lawrence is the first overall pick to the Jaguars. It's very likely that's going to happen. Even after the end of the 2020 NFL Draft, many were predicting that Trevor Lawrence was a guarantee first overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft when he came out of college. Some trades in the first round have already happened, and I would expect other trades to happen. Teams may trade their picks and move up or down in the draft. And the possible teams that could move up or down in the first round of the draft includes the Falcons, Dolphins, Lions, Panthers, Broncos, Eagles, Patriots, and Bears. Obviously, other teams could trade up or trade down. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But those teams I just listed have the highest possibility of making a trade up or down. Teams that move up in the first round are likely drafting a quarterback. The top 5 quarterbacks in the draft are expected to be drafted in the first round. We're going to have to wait and see if that happens. There's a possibility the first 4 picks could be quarterbacks. There's a possibility of all 5 quarterbacks being drafted in the top 10. But it's very likely that by the middle of the draft, that all 5 top quarterbacks entering the 2021 NFL draft will be drafted. We're going to have to wait and see if that happens and what teams draft what quarterbacks. And besides the top 5 quarterbacks in the 2021 NFL draft, there are other quarterbacks that will be drafted in the later rounds of the draft. The Jaguars have 2 first-round picks, the first and the 25th pick. The Jets have 2 first-round picks, the second and the 23rd pick. And the Dolphins have 2 first-round picks, the 6th and the 18th pick. The Texans, Rams, Seahawks, and Chiefs don't have a first-round pick. The Eagles have the most draft picks. The Seahawks have the fewest draft picks. The Broncos have the 9th, 40th, 71st, 114th, 152nd, 237th, 239th, and 253rd pick in the draft. In this year's draft, the Broncos' biggest needs are a quarterback, cornerback, safety, linebacker, and offensive tackle. The teams in need of a franchise quarterback for the future are the Jaguars, Jets, 49ers, Broncos, Patriots, Washington, the Bears, and the Seahawks. So that is everything you need to know leading up to the 2021 NFL Draft. Anything can happen in the draft, and we're going to have to wait and see what happens during the 2021 NFL Draft. But I'm definitely looking forward to watching the draft, and regardless of what team you root for, you should also be looking forward to watching the draft as well. The first round is always the most interesting round to watch, and anything can happen. There's a lot of great prospects in this year's draft. We're going to have to wait and see where they get drafted, but for sure I'm going to watch the first round. That's going to be the most interesting round. And even though there is 7 rounds and the NFL Draft is a 3-day event, the first day is always the best because it's the first round, but it's still worth watching the second and third day and watching the later rounds as well, because a lot of great players still get picked in the later rounds. Even though the first round is usually the best players and that's the best round to watch, a lot more happens in the later rounds. And a lot of great players get picked all the way through the draft. So it doesn't matter if you're the first pick or the last pick in the draft. It's just great, whatever player it is, and they get picked in the draft, that they're being drafted. And we have seen some of the best players in the first round, but also in the later rounds. It doesn't matter where you get drafted, as long as you get drafted and have a chance at playing in the NFL, there's a potential of that player becoming the next great player. And just like Tom Brady, he was the 199th overall pick in the 2000 NFL Draft. And look what he has become. He wasn't the first pick in the NFL Draft. He was the 199th pick. And look at him now. He's a 7-time Super Bowl champion, the GOAT, and one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. So it doesn't matter where you get drafted. As long as you get drafted, you get the opportunity of becoming the next great player. So make sure to tune in to the 2021 NFL Draft from April 29th through May 1st. And it is in Cleveland. And regardless of what team you root for, if you're a fan of the NFL, you definitely need to watch the NFL Draft. Moving on now to NBA basketball, Steph Curry made 83 three-pointers in April, which is the most in a single month in NBA history. Russell Westbrook has had 18 triple-doubles in the last 23 games. Russell Westbrook now has 30-plus triple-doubles in 3 different seasons. Russell Westbrook now has 600 rebounds and 600 assists in a season for the 5th time in his career. So right now I'm going to update you with the current NBA standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. To start off in the Eastern Conference, the 76ers have the 1st seed, the Nets have the 2nd seed, the Bucks have the 3rd seed, the Knicks have the 4th seed, the Hawks have the 5th seed, the Celtics have the 6th seed, the Heat have the 7th seed, and the Hornets have the 8th seed. Some teams still fighting for a playoff spot includes the Pacers and the Wizards. In the Western Conference, the Jazz have the 1st seed, the Suns have the 2nd seed, the Nuggets have the 3rd seed, the Clippers have the 4th seed, the Mavericks have the 5th seed, the Lakers have the 6th seed, the Trailblazers have the 7th seed, and the Grizzlies have the 8th seed. Some teams still fighting for a playoff spot includes the Warriors and the Spurs. So that's the current NBA standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. Moving on now to NHL hockey. For the 4th consecutive season, the Avalanche are going to the playoffs. So right now I'm going to update you with the current NHL standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. In the NHL, the division standings go off the amount of points the team scored, not by the wins or losses by the team. So taking a look at the Central Division, right now the Hurricanes are leading this division, and right behind the Hurricanes is the Lightning and the Panthers. In the East Division, right now the Capitals and the Penguins are tied for this division, and the next closest team is the Bruins and the Islanders. In the West Division, right now the Golden Knights are leading this division, and the next closest teams are the Avalanche and the Wild. And in the North Division, right now the Maple Leafs are leading this division, and the next closest team is the Oilers. So that's the current NHL standings in the Eastern and Western Conference. Moving on now to the show, what to watch for this week in sports, the 2021 NFL Draft from April 29th to May 1st, the Rockies, Major League Baseball, the Nuggets, NBA Basketball, the Avalanche, NHL Hockey, the Kentucky Derby on Saturday, May 1st. Moving on now, on the next show I will talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA Basketball, NHL Hockey, and the Kentucky Derby. I hope you all have a great week. Tune in to the next All Sports with Gerardo show next week. I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports. Subscribe or like my pages on social media at All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.